The Day is Done by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. The day is done, and the darkness falls from the wings of night, as a feather is wafted downward from an eagle in his flight. I see the lights of the village gleam through the rain and the mist, and a feeling of sadness comes o'er me that my soul cannot resist. A feeling of sadness and longing that is not akin to pain, and resembles sorrow only as the mist resembles the rain. Come, read to me some poem, some simple and heartfelt lay, that shall soothe this restless feeling and banish the thoughts of day. Not from the grand old masters, not from the bards sublime, whose distant footsteps echo through the corridors of time. For, like strains of martial music, their mighty thoughts suggest life's endless toil and endeavor. And tonight I long for rest. Read from some humbler poet, whose songs gushed from his heart as showers from the clouds of summer, or tears from the eyelids start, who, through long days of labor and nights devoid of ease, still heard in his soul the music of wonderful melodies. Such songs have power to quiet the restless pulse of care and come like the benediction that follows after prayer. Then read from the treasured volume the poem of thy choice, and lend to the rhyme of the poet the beauty of thy voice. And the night shall be filled with music, and the cares that infest the day shall fold their tents like the Arabs, and as silently steal away.
Shelter from the Storms, but by Tony Curtis. Mem, I was surprised to find an old abandoned car sunk into a hollow behind a shelter of rocks. Mem, I thought of Dylan's lines. We drove that car as far as we could, abandoned it out west. Mem, I was singing it still when I came upon Festus cutting turf. I mentioned the wrecked car. So, have you seen my shed, my depot? What do you make of it? Terrific. What? I'll tell you now. There's a grand bit of shelter in there when a storm comes up out of the hills. Do you recognise it? It's a Morris Traveller. A classic. It used to belong to my grandfather. He gave up travelling by pony and trap for that car. My grandmother hated it. The rattle, the smell, the dust. They only make the Morris Minor in India now, but they don't have bogs. Wouldn't you miss a bog? I hear they think cows are sacred creatures, but I've pulled more cows out of bog holes. Sacred they may be, but they are certainly dumb. Now ponies, there's a sacred animal for you. Sure, when you pass them on the road, you can feel them blessing you with their eyes.
Digging by Seamus Heaney. Between my finger and my thumb, the squat pen rests, snug as a gun. Under my window, a clean, rasping sound, when the spade sinks into gravelly ground. My father, digging. I look down till his straining rump among the flower beds bends low. comes up 20 years away, stooping in rhythm through potato drills where he was digging. The coarse boot nestled on the lug. The shaft against the inside knee was levered firmly. He rooted out tall tops, buried the bright edge deep, to scatter new potatoes that we picked, loving their cool hardness in our hands. By God, the old man could handle a spade, just like his old man. My grandfather cut more turf in a day than any other man on Tona's bog. Once I carried him milk in a bottle, corked sloppily with paper. He straightened up to drink it, then fell to, right away, nicking and slicing neatly, heaving sods over his shoulder, going down and down for the good turf, digging. The cold smell of potato mould, the squelch and slap of soggy peat, the curt cuts of an edge through living roots awaken in my head. But I've no spade to follow men like them. Between my finger and my thumb, the squat pen rests. I'll dig with it.
The poem of James Connolly by Liam McGowan. The man was all shot through that came today into the barrack square. A soldier I am not proud to say. We killed him there. They brought him from the prison hospital. To see him in that chair, I thought his smile would far more quickly call a man to prayer. Maybe we cannot understand this thing that makes these rebels die. And yet, all things love freedom, and the spring clear in the sky. I think I would not do this deed again for all that I hold by. Gaze down my rifle at his breast, but then a soldier I. They say that he was kindly, different too, apart from all the rest, a lover of the poor, and all shot through, his wounds ill-dressed. He came before us, faced us like a man. He knew a deeper pain than blows or bullets ere the world began. Died he in vain? Ready, present. And he just smiling, God. I felt my rifle shake. His wounds were opened out, and round that chair was one red lake. I swear his lips said fire when all was still. Before my rifle spat that cursed lead, and I was picked to kill a man like that.
When You Are Old by William Butler Yeats. When you are old and grey and full of sleep and nodding by the fire, take down this book and slowly read and dream of the soft look your eyes had once and of their shadows deep. How many loved your moments of glad grace and loved your beauty with a love false or true. But one man loved the pilgrim soul in you, and loved the sorrows of your changing face. And bending down beside the glowing bars, murmur a little sadly how love fled and paced upon the mountains overhead, and hid his face amid a crowd of stars.
And Death Shall Have No Dominion, by Dylan Thomas. And death shall have no dominion. Dead men naked, they shall be one with the man in the wind and the west moon. When their bones are picked clean and the clean bones gone, they shall have stars at elbow and foot. Though they go mad, they shall be sane. Though they sink through the sea, they shall rise again. Though lovers be lost, love shall not, and death shall have no dominion. And death shall have no dominion. Under the windings of the sea, they lying long shall not die windily, twisting on racks when sinews give way, strapped to a wheel, yet they shall not break. Faith in their hands shall snap in two, and the unicorn evils run them through. So that all ends up and they shan't crack, and death shall have no dominion. And death shall have no dominion. No more may gulls cry at their ears, or waves break loud on the seashores. Were a flower blue, may a flower no more lift its head to the blows of the rain. And though they be mad and dead as nails, the heads of the characters hammer through daisies. Break in the sun till the sun breaks down, and death shall have no dominion.
A Winter Solstice by Peter Fallon. A low sun leans across the fields of County Meath, like 30 watts behind a dirty blind. New year begins to breathe new life into the ground. The winter wheat begins to teeth. The tarmac streams like precious ore beside wrapped bales bright in the glare. Crows shake like collies by a puddle, blooms of spray. And they declare a boy's voice breaking in the throat of morning, a prayer that works to scour the slate of unimaginable hurt. We draw breath in the air. Its shapes are almost tangible. And the breath and sweat of horses makes a minor mist. Beautiful. And beautiful the light on water as the age's newly minted coin. You'd be hard-pressed from here to tell a withered elm across the Boyne from an ash that's hibernating. Past and present join in the winter solstice. The days will stretch, and we survive, with losses, yes, and lessons too, to reap the honey of the hive of history. The yield of what is given insists a choice, to live, to thrive.
Long Distance 2 by Tony Harrison. Though my mother was already 2 years dead, Dad kept her slippers warming by the gas, put hot water bottles her side of the bed, and still went to renew her transport pass. You couldn't just drop in, you had to phone. He put you off an hour to give him time to clear away her things and look alone, as though his still raw love were such a crime. He couldn't risk my blight of disbelief, though sure that very soon he'd hear her key scrape in the rusted lock and end his grief. He knew she'd just popped out to get the tea. I believe life ends with death and that is all. You haven't both gone shopping. All the same. In my black leather phone book, there's your name and the disconnected number I still call.
In Memory of My Mother by Patrick Kavanagh. I do not think of you lying in the wet clay of a Monaghan graveyard. I see you walking down a lane among the poplars on your way to the station, or happily going to second mass on a summer Sunday. You meet me and you say, "Don't forget to see about the cattle." Among your earthiest words, the angels stray. And I think of you walking along a headland of green oats in June, so full of repose, so rich with life. And I see us meeting at the end of a town on a fair day by accident. After all the bargains are made, we walk through the shops and stalls and markets, free in oriental streets of thought. Oh, you are not lying in the wet clay, for it is a harvest evening, and we are piling up the ricks against the moonlight, and you smile up at us, eternally.
Poppies in July by Sylvia Plath. Little poppies, little hell flames, do you do no harm? You flicker, I cannot touch you, I put my hands among the flames, nothing burns. And it exhausts me to watch you, flickering like that, wrinkly and clear red, like the skin of a mouth. Her mouth just bloodied, little bloody skirts. There are fumes I cannot touch. Where are your opiates, your nauseous capsules? If I could bleed or sleep, if my mouth could marry a hurt like that, where your liquors seep to me in this glass capsule, dulling and stilling, but colorless, colorless.